Welcome to the Infinite Human Talk Show with Elizabeth Monroy. Over the next hour, you'll learn how you can become part of the new consciousness renaissance by evolving yourself physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, and socially to embrace your true divine infinite nature and become an infinite human and co-creator of the new infinite earth. Now, here's your host, Elizabeth Monroy.
Hello, my divine infinite human beings. You're all that is, ever has been, and ever shall be. And welcome, welcome, welcome. I am really excited about our guest this week. I always say that, but this time I really am because it's just, I always am, but this is a very intuitive kind of choice that I had. And it's Mary Costello. And I was just telling you, she just kept coming in front of me. And I knew I had to have her on. And I knew we had a very important message to give you this show, and we're going to be talking about the restoration of the Divine Mother. We talked about the destruction of the Divine Mother back in March with Jane Evershed. Now we're going to be talking about the restoration of the Divine Mother and also the organic timelines that are coming back online and that are coming back available to us to get onto. So, Mary, welcome. And do you mind just telling people about you? Because, it's so
Sure.
fascinating. But I like the way you say it first.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for having me. And I'm sorry I kept jumping in front of you. Intuitively, just kept jumping in front of you. It's just what happens, isn't it? It's so beautiful because it makes me feel like everything is so much easier. There's this kind of level of grace where we're just being brought to vibrational resonance with each other. So there's never the struggle of how can we find each other. It just doesn't seem to be there anymore. It just seems to be happening. My name is Mary Costello. I live in Ireland, and I have been working with, at this present moment, I could say that my focus is to bring the human consciousness into the command of love, and what that means, and comprehensively what that could look like, because love has an order, and it has a structure, and it has systems, it has an intelligence. I've been working with to restore the channel working within the channel of the Eternal Mother, and that has become more comprehensive as time has gone on. And with each conversation, so even this conversation now will add more comprehension to that. And what I am finding and what I am committed to now is that the presence of the Eternal Mother back on the earth, or back into humanity's consciousness, is the sound core, the core sound, and therefore the magnetic containment of the field, of the continuum, of everything within creation. So I have been working with that sound, and by extension the magnetics, and I have been channeling that through, I would say, my womb, and through the songline of my lineage of grandmother, mother, daughter, etc., all the way to the first mother, with the knowing now, because I've worked with so many women, to bring us back to the song of the Eternal Mother, so we can hold everybody in that eternal song of love.
Oh, thank you. That's so beautiful. And when you mentioned that, I've been really meditating on that. When I get guests, I kind of like talk to them, and kind of, connect to the energy. And it's just, amazing. It's overpowering. It's very overwhelming, but it's very necessary right now. I think it's the key to what we need right now. And before we get into that, I want to just say something that you had mentioned to me, and I really feel like we're on the same page with this because, the book, The Infinite Human, it just goes all down deep and dirty, how dark and how you know, inverted, perverted our whole planet Earth has become in its fall. And we've
Mm.
talked about that over and over and over again. And it's all in my book. And, I understand that, it's really important to know that so you don't spiritual bypass and you don't just,
Mhm.
rainbows and unicorns and everything's fine. But I think we both realize now, for many of us, now the masses are just starting to get it because the energies are coming in so strong and they're starting to wake up out of the coma and go, wait, maybe everything's not, perfect. It's like the Truman Show veneer is kind of coming off. And
Yeah.
especially in the States, I'm American. I'm getting ready to go back there, the 15th of November. So I'm kind of part there. And we've got the elections and now everything. I just peeked my head into it a minute. And it's getting crazy because everyone wants to, the latest conspiracy gossip, and
Mhm.
it's become gossip, and what
Mm.
happens is, and I firmly believe this, I put it in my newsletter, okay, you have to first know what the problem is. Like if you're ill and you have a disease, you have to diagnose it properly. You have to find out
Yeah.
what's wrong. Then when you find out everything's wrong, and everything's wrong, I say I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I'm a conspiracy therapist. It just is really, really wrong. Okay. It's been, when you take out one of the core elements, love, and the eternal mother,
Mm.
everything just goes down the toilet. So
Mm.
everything's wrong. But now we have to be the solution. Okay. Once you find the
Mm.
problem, if you keep talking about it, you're feeding it. So now it's time to figure out, what can we do? How do we do it different? How do we do it the correct way? And now we have the energy that's supporting us. So, do you want to comment on that? Because I know you feel getting.
Sure. Yeah. Oh, I hear you, and I feel suffering, the same way everyone else. I'm certainly not above or beyond humanity's suffering. Um, and so as you say, what's the word? Spiritual, like disassociation almost. I know what that looks like. Yeah, and I know the cruelty of that and how that feels. When people want empathy actually, and they're met with a kind of an affront of, well, you've made this happen to yourself, or this is all for your own lesson, or you've deserved this. It's kind of a cruelty, to speak that way. So I understand people's suffering for sure. What I
And
would
also
say,
in the world where where they're giving medicine, they're calling medicine something that's going to hurt you, or
hmm,
they're calling education something that's just brainwashing you. I mean, you need
yeah,
to see that, of course.
hmm,
But
yeah,
once you see it, we need to
yeah,
not do it, not
absolutely.
participate in it.
Yeah, absolutely. So what I have found, because of course, with everything that is wrong, I searched and found in my capacity as I travel in my, let's say, in line with the golden mother of dragons. That's how I move myself, or I am moved, excuse me, should I say, by her impulses. And when I say mother dragon, which sounds very fantastical, that just means the keeper, the eternal keeper of humanity. That is the eternal mother is the protector of humanity. And so when we talk about, how wrong everything has been, as you say, the destruction of the Divine Mother has been a massive part of that. So I have been looking at false sound occupation that had drowned out the sound of mother. And the importance of sound is the intention and the directionality for our electrical light bodies, for the full electrical light system, humanity's consciousness. So, but these things are corrected now. So what I'm finding now, and I can go into that later if you wish, but what I'm finding now is that a lot of the bite has really gone out of the false, of the scare stories, of the threats, and these weaponized, emotional, loaded stories thrown at people to try to terrorize them. A lot of the real depth and bite has gone out of them. And what I'm seeing is that the most they can actually garner from people now is a kind of a looping, finite dead end.
Mhm.
There doesn't seem that whole beast machine, gathering up the loot, that has been dismantled to my knowledge, and we have all been part of that. Yeah. So what I'm seeing, and also when you go a step further, you realize how powerful we are. We realize how we have, in fact, and I won't project this on, I'll say this for myself. I would realize, and I would offer that others, this is the same for all of us, through the place in our wombs, perhaps, or even just in our imagination and our thoughts, in our emotional connections, how we have incubated and continue to incubate like a bad seed, a bad dream. And by our powers of projection, because that's what we are doing, we are projectors of reality. By our powers of projection, we are actually upholding the bad dream between each other and telling each other the stories over and over again, convincing, agreeing with each other, making a little tribe because of our story. And I understand people's need to talk, absolutely. And I understand the trauma that is done that makes people fracture into tribes or into groups like that. But what I would just say is that to treat your receptivity, your beautiful sacred space, in your imagination, in your womb, inside in your emotional center, in the water of your belly, in all these beautiful places, how we receive, to know how powerful that is. And we are the creators of the good dream or the bad dream. And it's time that we stop upholding the bad dream.
So powerful and so true. So I just want to, I hope you heard that. Listening, because here's the key. We had David Icke on here talking about, it's all a simulation, and you are the co-creator. And you just said the finite time loop. And my message has always been we're infinite. We're breaking away from that finite. And we've been conditioned to create our own misery. So I want to touch on something else you said to me. I just picked it up, but I went with it and talked to you on another level, much deeper, because I just so believe in this. And I think you're very much like me, because a lot of my friends, especially from the States, everyone's like, oh my God, I don't know what to believe right now. Everything's, there's so much out there, blah, blah, blah. And, I say, well, not only am I fasting today from food, but also I fast all the time. I live, you can see, if you have video, you can see behind me, and there's something about all orchards below me. I'm up in the mountains, there's nobody, I don't even have neighbors. And then I go into town, to do my business, to do whatever, got a massage, this, and then I come back and I spend so much time. But people say, you live by yourself, and I'm like, yeah. I mean, I am alone like 90% of my time, but why? I'm never alone. People are very lonely right now, but I always say you're not alone, you're all one, because that's how I communicate. That's how I can hear. I can see the multi-dimensional contacts that I have. And I'm sure you do that with your, what you do. Is so powerful. And you said something to me. You said, I don't want to listen too much, because it contaminates my channel. And I just thought, I never realized that, but that's what I do. I just flip things off. I can't. And I think we need to hear that. So do you want to expand on how important that is?
Well, I would love to say that as a story and explain myself some bit. When I was a child, I lived the vast majority of my childhood in a daydream. Now, I thought it was daydream. It felt like I was actually underwater. I couldn't hear. And I would, when they told the teachings of Jesus, I would tune in, because I loved his stories of healing and love and courage. They would speak those stories in my school. And when we were doing art and science, I would tune in. The vast majority of time, I couldn't hear what anybody was saying. And I just remember this the other day, because people were speaking about bells. A lot of people were speaking about bells. I would come home to my mother, and I'd wrap my arms around her hips, and I would place my ear on her womb. And my mother was always the same. Now, things were chaotic around her, so she could be agitated or irritated, but she was always the same. And I used to recalibrate. Now I know what I was doing. I was recalibrating to her, to her strength, to her order. She had an inner order and an inner intelligence.
And to the mother,
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. Yeah, directly to the mother, because I went straight for her womb. I just wrapped around her hips. So what I would just say is that a lot of people, and I have gotten this, that irritates people because people want access to my imagine my creational space. People want access to, they want me to agree with them. I have one person I don't spend time with now, but in the last conversation, he must have said to me maybe 5 times, "Do you understand? Do you understand me?" You know? And I didn't answer him. I just thought, God, this guy's crazy. He was trying to get me to stand under what he was saying, trying to get me to absorb what he was saying, trying to make me frightened about things going on in the world. And what I would say is that I can perceive threat in my body. I have been in situations where I thought I would die. I know what fear feels like. When people are, in this disembodied state of storytelling and they're trying to make one another frightened, that's not threat. That's stories. That's delusionary, kind of trying to capture each other's attention. So yes, we have within us, in our bodies, the vibrational beginnings of the golden age. Within our bodies, it's like a map of stars. We have the coordinates of everything begins with vibration. And this is where the mother comes in, because the mother is vibration, which is sound, which is intention. And how the mother is making herself known in a way that we will know her, be of her, so we will never lose her again or lose ourselves, is these coordinates, these vibrational beginnings in the body are, fizzing or, vibrating stronger somehow. And we are perceiving. So whatever is being told to us, does it resonate with our body? Does it make us feel sick? Does it take us out of what we should be feeling in the body is belonging and sustenance and nourishment, and we should feel held by our body. And what I say also about true sound, as opposed to false sound or false narratives, true sound grounds you, it brings you back into your body, it makes you settle, and our bodies are now actually coming to life with vibrational beginnings, with vibrational intentions. So that is what will drown out the other stuff, because it was the other stuff that drowned out our body's wisdom in the first place. And if we want to talk about a battle, this is the mother of all battles, and our bodies, the mother, is winning. And those other sounds will be drowned out. They are being drowned out now. Those sounds of division. And the mother sound is all about unity.
That's beautiful. And while you were talking, I was thinking, actually, before this, where I saw you when you were in Ireland, and Sasha Stone interviewed you. And I want to bring this up because I'm talking about the masculine and the feminine, and you have a very feminine presence. And I interviewed Sasha, and I spent Christmas with him about 2 years ago. And there's a certain kind of I've noticed a chemistry or an energy that he has with a lot of women. But when he got to you, you were just so in your softness. And I always say your power's in your softness, and I want to talk a little bit about how we've been hoodwinked to think being a powerful woman is putting on a power suit and going out there being like the dark masculine. But you just, you talked very softly, and you said what you were intuiting. And what you did was you brought him into you. And I noticed at the very end of that video, which he had been kind of moving people along and trying to follow his agenda, he just got opened up, and he started saying something he came to a realization by allowing his feminine to open, that just that energy. And I've seen him interacting with a lot of different women, and I've interacted with him too. And I couldn't be part of the way, it was a different way I interacted, but I really loved what you did. And I think it was a symbol for women because, and I'll bring this up, and I'm sure you will, in our hidden history, there's so much trauma, and especially Ireland. My God, there's been so much of this raiding and raping the lines of women. So we've been taught not to be soft. We have to be strong.
Mhm.
And I think what I'm hearing you say and what you're emanating is that now it's safe to come out, like come out
Yes.
wherever you are. You can be who
Yes.
you really are. You can express
Yes.
yourself and the divine feminine in the world and be loving and gentle
Yeah.
and compassionate.
Mm.
You,
Yeah.
you
This is what's happening, and and as we are finding each other, we are realizing, let's say, the body of mother, or the unity of the feminine, the unity of woman, our ability to feel each other vibrationally, and I believe that's through the womb. That's coming back together. So women were kind of brought into this horrible psychic battle, almost like putting spells or little divisions. We also had so many wounds of like oracles kind of being used to bolster a kingdom, and so we have had so much of, like, come on, we have so much trauma on our
because we're so
voice.
powerful, because we're
Yes,
powerful.
yeah,
They didn't want us to use that magnetic.
yes,
And Dave Everett
exactly.
was on here and talked about we're in a magnetic universe. So they
Yeah.
have to squelch the magnetic.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
they did a great job of it, unfortunately,
They
with all the
did.
trauma that they did.
Yeah. So what they did with women, or what happened with women, I won't say they, because who's they? I'll say what happened with women is that the womb was taken out of the voice, and the womb connected to the voice. So when you heard me speaking with Sasha, I'm so grateful that Sasha. I think the same thing happened with Sasha. My face just kept popping in the way. Um, I was so grateful for him for allowing that, because of course, I noticed they're very fast moving conversations, and I'm not a fast moving person. So, and I noticed that, like, I'm not, I'm not oblivious. I know it's like a rock in the middle of a river. It's kind of like, oh, hold on a second, guys, So,
But the river always wears the rock down, and
yeah.
that's magnetic. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was really grateful for that space to be given that beautiful place to enjoy. I really love that. But what I will say is that in all situations, women set the tone of the room, of the conversation, of whatever, of anything that they're in. And but there is a way to that, is if the voice belongs to the womb. Does the voice belong to the womb? The womb is the first place of devotion, the most sacred place of devotion to life, to innocence, and to evolution. So when we speak for our womb, we cannot speak outside of um, honor to evolution, innocence, life, children, humanity. We cannot speak outside of the honor of that. So I would say to women, don't sell your voice because nobody wants you to. We have been so conditioned, there's been so much wounding, and I fully understand it. I only started talking um, insistently a few years ago. We sometimes choose or subconsciously a performative voice, an appeasing voice, a manipulative voice, and I'm not trying to say it's in a bad way, but maybe giving false flattery where it's not really due, to
But
try to
that's all the
soften
power
someone.
we have
Mm.
to do that because
Yeah,
our
absolutely.
power was through our sons, our husbands,
Yep.
our fathers.
Hmm.
We were completely controlled, so we had to learn to be that
Yes.
dark lunar force that
Yeah.
revolved around the solar male
Hmm.
as a reflection.
Yes.
We had to manipulate, and we were very good at it.
We learned it. We all had to learn it, and
Our
it
wives
was
and children were dependent on it, or, the well of the family.
absolutely.
How could we manipulate and maneuver in this dark
Yeah.
masculine world?
Mhm.
So
And we did well to survive all of that, whatever way we had to. Absolutely. Yeah. Mm.
we're going to take just a short break here
Okay.
because we're coming up to break time. But when we get back, I want to talk about womb because you usually don't
Yeah.
say talk from the womb. It's like kind of like womb. Talk about that. That's private.
Yeah,
That's my
I'd love to.
Okay, so we'll be right back with Mary and Costello. I'm sorry, I'm Italian, and I had a friend
That's
named Costello.
okay. It
How do you
makes me
pronounce
sound, well, it's Costello, but Costello sounds cooler. It makes me
it? What's
feel like
that?
I'm Italian, so that's good. Yeah, I like it.
Costello. Mary Costello. Okay, be right back.
Thank you.
For more empowering words from Elizabeth Monroy and Dr. Peter Monroy, check out their latest book, The Infinite Human, an ascension guide for starseeds, twin souls, and awakening infinite humans, the co-creators of the new infinite 5D Earth. You'll also find many spiritual books to help both children and adults in their ascension back to home, to infinite God Source. Isn't it time to be part of the new consciousness renaissance? If this resonates with you, please subscribe to our website at infinitehuman.com and become part of our growing Infinite Human family.
Welcome back to the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. Do you have a question or comment for Elizabeth or her guests? Please text or email your questions and comments to infinitehumanproductions@gmail.com. Now, back to the show.
And welcome back. And we're having a fascinating conversation about the restoration of the divine mother and the organic timelines. And I want to get into that in more detail right now. But before we do, I just want to talk about, and we're talking with Mary Costello, Ireland. And anyway, and we're what I want to talk about, because I've always said, I feel my book was written from a woman's perspective, living through life. It's my life story of awakening and all the things that have happened in my twin soul relationship. And I think, and I always say it's the divine feminine that's coming back. One of my spiritual teachers, who was a male in the past, said it's the men that got us into a mess. He was a sergeant in the military, and it's the women who are going to get us out of it. And I always say it's the women who are going to give birth from the womb to the new earth. Yeah. So let's kind of talk about that and how we can, because I think it's a huge healing that we're all struggling with. How can we women get out of all this defensiveness and this pain and this suffering, and when you talk about womb, there's so many pains there, like childbirth and ministrational cramps, and my husband was a gynecologist, so I know his office was busy with all kinds of miasmic, ancestral miasma passed down in the mother wound. So how can we begin to shift that and collapse those old timelines, that time loop that we talked about, and get onto the true organic timelines of the divine mother and the golden dragon, right? The golden dragon.
Absolutely. There has been, as you'd imagine, of course, to take out the mother out of the planetary brain, the governance of humanity's consciousness, to take the mother aspect out of that, and in fact replace her with a machine, false mother, with an ability to weave a false matrix. The mother is the weaver. The womb was seriously targeted. So when you speak of those women with physical manifestations of that targeting, absolutely. And I've spoken with a lot of women like that who come to me. They've had the physical targeting, but they've also got some precious wisdom in their womb as well. So we work to separate both. What I would say, if anyone wants just the very, very beginning point, that I would say, and I would do this at any time, I command my golden, let me say that again. I command that my womb is brought back to golden honor. I command that my womb is brought back to golden honor. There is an order. There is already an order within the womb. There is what creates the order of the womb is the sound that's within it. This is the sound of the Eternal Mother. That's what our womb is here for. It is an emanation point. It looks to me like a beautiful rose connected to the cosmic rose. It is an emanation point, and it has some powerful abilities. It has like a sonar ability. We call it intuition, but it is so much more than that. It is the This is why the women and the wombs are at the forefront of evolution. We have the ability to send out the sound, the eternal sound of the womb, which is love, read the field in response, and make our next steps from the perception of that sound, of what we have received from the field. So getting the womb to a place without any anxiety, without fear, is imperative. And I will tell you, if you have anxiety and fear in your womb, it is not yours. It is something in your life, or some form of interference, and it may be a person that needs to leave your life. The womb is a place of the highest honor. It has been entrusted naturally to be the front line of evolution, because it is if there is to be a church, it is the womb. If there is to be a place of devotion, it is the womb, because the womb actively, in a way that can be felt and seen by result, devotes everything needed by this infant to come to life. It is the only place I can see in humanity that is a devotion worth upholding. Places of worship, places of worship. Is there much difference? This is the place of devotion, the primary place of devotion. So the imperative, the importance of bringing the womb to peace and safety, first of all, and honor, is everything. And then power comes when there is, it's more like function. So when the dysfunction is removed, when the anxiety, when the sickness, when the confusion is removed from the womb, the function of the womb becomes clear, and it has a light function. So if we look to, we have been told a picture of almost like an androgynous God figure. The womb has been taken out of the concept of God, or the concept of creator. That's wrong. Of course.
Father, son, hungry ghost.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, nothing
Yeah.
spiritual about women. They're
Exactly.
you're saying here in Italy, putana Eva, which means prostitute Eve. That's how they think of
Okay.
women, the
Yeah.
cause of all sin. So yeah, we have that in our history.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, every part of humanity, especially something as, if there were no wombs, there would be no humanity. So it's kind of a no-brainer. It has a light function. The womb has a light function. What I am seeing now is, because I posed the question recently, is like, how will women feel each other vibrationally? How will we return to this one unified knowing of mother, of woman, of what? And when I talk about divine feminine, I'm not talking about an individualized, beautiful, well-dressed, self-contained unit of a woman. That's fine. That's nothing wrong with that. But what I want to see is the divine feminine like a blanket, like a weaving of protection and honor and love that guards every single child on the earth at all times. That's what I want the divine feminine to do. And what I came to is that actually it's the womb, like me hugging my mother, and this vision of this bell, this feeling that there was a bell in the womb, and that everyone's womb would ring to the sound of the same bell. And we have had war in our womb. So if history is written on the battlefields, her story is what is the remnants of war absorbed into the body, absorbed into the womb. So as we release that pollution, because we cannot absorb a lie. Our wombs are not able to absorb a lie. We must expel it. We must expel the degradation of the womb, the dishonor, the misunderstanding of the womb, and reclaim its full function and its purity. And purity is not in the term of, this nonsensical sin idea, or having to be, any kind of a woman in relation to what someone else says you should be. I don't mean it like that. Purity as in the pure function, the pure intelligence, the light intelligence, the beauty and the honor. And it is a as you say, it is a place of birthing. Nothing will come from the formless to the form, but through the womb. We have within us the birth canal, the birth channel, obviously within the body, but we believe, right, that every baby is born with a soul. So women have the inherent knowing, the inherent consciousness, somehow, whether unknown or not to them, to bring a soul into form. We also, by extension of that, have the inherent understanding of how to birth the golden age, and that's what we're doing now.
Wow. So amazing, amazing. And I do believe that we are giving birth to that. I want to back up just a minute because, I'm very
Sure.
honest person. I'm just, and for me, not necessarily in this life, but I see past lives. They're all happening at once since there's no time. And I just think we can't remember them because the trauma of MK Ultra mind control trauma. We've basically been traumatized. So we've compartmentalized those aspects of them ourselves. And for me, they're back, many of them, most of them, and I live in ancient places. So it comes up for me all the time. And I have vivid memories of being all the time part of I'm part of the Magic Grail line. I always have held high genetics. So those women, and Ireland's filled with them, have been coveted by the fallen angelics. We'll just say, for our genetics. And so I've always been like in part of forced breeding programs. Whether it's been, off planet on Nibiru or, just having living a nice Celtic existence and having your village raided and your twin soul murdered and your children murdered and you forced to breed, So there's all that violence. And when you talk about that, I feel nervousness. I feel the anxiety in my womb. So I'm not one to like focus a lot on my womb because it is, but I really liked what you said about, having the golden restoration of it. But what else can I mean, I know you do work with this, but for our listeners, just to start on that, like what's the takeaway that, how can we begin to heal that? Because I think, I don't think I'm the only one out there. I think there's a lot of women who have a lot of issues.
Absolutely. Okay, well, the reason the womb voice is so silenced is because it is the place of command. It is the place that commands what is needed for the evolution. So if we decide now, which we do by what we're speaking, of course, our wombs in their pure function, in their golden age function, are required to bring about the birth of the golden age. So we can make that a command. We command that. I command that my womb is brought back to its full life function within the golden age. You speak it and you claim it. And because everything else, everything that was done to us is a lie. It's outside of us. It's not from source. It has no power. So we just claim our function and the dysfunction falls away. We claim our activation and the stagnation falls away. We claim the life and the movement and the eternal movement of who we are, and the imposed finite nonsense falls away. We just have to command.
I see.
Yeah.
So, just to bring it back to a lot of grounded, I always try to ground stuff in reality. And what I see happening a lot, because I'm always, kind of focusing on the women right now, that's me. And of course, we're both masculine and feminine, we know that. And we're both, we can't be electrical without magnetic without electrical. So enough said about that. But, physical women, I think right now what we're having is, we've always been, and I'm talking about rewriting your life story to its heroic version, which is the you that follows the highest timelines, the organic timelines, and commands forth the new earth. So, but I do it too, so it's not a blame thing. But we're taught to wait for that hero. The
Yes.
man's gonna do it, the man's
Yeah.
gonna make everything work out. And then I talked to the men. In fact, I even talked to the first thing I said out of my mouth when I met Sasha was it's the women who are going to, co-create the new earth. We're going to give birth to it. And he,
Yes.
they agree, and men are
Yes.
saying yes, but yet they're still working from their masculine side, trying to, like you said, hurry things along, make things happen,
Yeah.
check the list, it's all very left brain. So it's an energetic thing that's going to happen. It's
Yes.
going to happen inside of us. We are, everyone's like, when's the divine mother returning? Well, it happens first internally, right? It's inside
Yeah.
of us, internal creation.
Absolutely.
So
It's that, and I see that too. I see that. I see that. What I will say is that, creation is a dance, and it's a dance of love. And with the feminine is leading the dance now. We are undoing the convoluted dance. We are returning to the original dance, like the magnetic and electric, the flow of creation. We know the magnetic, the vibration is feminine. So that is the beginning point of the dance. And the response is the electric, which is the masculine. So the women have to lead in authentic expression, and that doesn't even have to involve authentic expression outside of their doorstep. That can be personal and whatever feels comfortable. But let's get to the body of things. Let's get down to the bones and the blood of what we are made of. We are made from love. We are made in love, and the greatest dishonor to the Eternal Mother who made us from love is to be raised in love and to live in hate or to live in war. We are raised in love so that we can bear fruit and flower and live in joy and in dance. So I would say, do not, don't worry about the interplay between the masculine and feminine, because magnetism is magnetic. There will be no choice. So, this, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
it leads.
So there was a false magnetic. The false mother system contained a false magnetic that was, from what I understand, from the black heart of Saturn and the moon, there was a false magnetic placed upon us, which massively impacted everyone, but took the electrical, and I call it electrical devotion, took the electrical devotion away from the Eternal Mother. As the magnetism of the Eternal Mother is amping up, the electrical devotion will have no choice but to follow. So I would just say, express yourself come to the place of no fear and express yourself in your full beauty, in your full power, your full presence, authenticity. Do not worry about who hears what you say. You're speaking for freedom. You're speaking for freedom and dancing for freedom. So it will correct. This is why I'm so focused on women or on magnetism and vibration so much, and the body, because it will have to correct. The strongest magnetic will receive the electrical devotion. So,
well, I think all we can really do is be a role model and share this vibration information. And you are a very good role model to me because this I've had a very strong mother wound, and I've had I learned how to be magnetic when I met my twin soul, because I was kind of like American woman, young. I'm gonna, I'm not, nothing's holding me back. I'm out there. And then I met Peter, and so it was very tough, but he put me in that magnetic where I had to definitely. He was a doctor, but I was the healer of him. I mean, he was the doctor of women, but behind him, him was me. And then when he was gone, I've been balancing between, learning to deal in the masculine world. But I'm going to say something I think a lot of women feel. I'm extremely like creative and sensitive, very sensitive. And when I get out in the world, I get nervous and flustered, because it's like, hurry, like I'm getting ready to fly. Oh my God, fly like. Where's all your documents? I take Kiki, my service dog, with me, and she has more documents. So, what I'm saying? It's that, and also like a blonde, dumb blonde, we have that a lot. So I get flustered. I think women sometimes and there's this
Mhm.
idea that men like, oh, she's dingy, a dingy
Mhm.
broad. What is it? A
Yeah.
spacey, dizzy. When
Mhm.
we're not dizzy, we're multidimensional, and we're
Yep.
assessing the situation, and we're bringing it
Mhm.
all together. So I think the shift, what you're
Mhm.
saying, I mean, how do we make that shift? Because I know you do it. Like I saw you do it
Yeah.
with Sasha when he's trying to rush you along, or whatever in
Mhm.
the masculine world out there. They,
Mhm.
next, and you're like, wait,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah.
So just being soft, being
Mhm.
loving. I think people are like surprised
Yes.
when you're like loving, because
Yeah.
usually I'm defensive and I'm like blast them out of the water and like blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
some
Well, that
advice.
happens too with me. Absolutely. One of my friends, we joke and call me a torpedo sometimes. I just deliver these messages that are so I but that and I don't judge that. That's fine. But I will say, I haven't been invited back to Sasha's show. I'm not saying that to say a bad thing. I'm just saying the way I speak, the way I'm encouraging us to speak has yet to be fully recognized for the intelligence and the wisdom that it is. It's taking time. So I would say that what I am focusing on now is giving a vibrational invitation. That's all. Because all that can happen, it's almost like we are underpinning everything else. And as everything else, as all the finite conversations, all the war stories are finished being swapped, as all the formed solutions are put on the table and raked through, then it becomes known. At the end of that, it becomes known the value of a woman's voice, the value of a woman who can access the formless, of a sensitive woman, of a woman who speaks her truth and who speaks in a way that moves people. This is the whole point of our voice, is to move reality. So when you have a voice that moves reality, it might not be comfortable. It brings joy in the moment, but you might just be kind of kept outside the little sphere for a while. That's okay. It's all okay. And so what I do is I speak mostly with women, and I create events with women, and we do beautiful things where we're basically opening up a birthing channel between us with our loving intention,
Please tell me what we're almost out of time.
Yeah.
So tell us how we can get in contact with you and what you do.
Yeah, I'm on Facebook,
We're
Mary
gonna have to
Costello.
close with this. Okay, so
Mary
don't go.
Costello on Facebook is the best thing, right, to find me. My next offering is, so when you're speaking about the fear and trepidation, 100%, I know you. I know exactly what you're saying. I'm a normal woman too, and I'm creating this workshop so I see what's missing. I cannot make anyone do anything, right? So I cannot reach outside myself. Anytime I reach outside myself for a solution, I am breaking the strength of my magnetic shield, and I cannot afford to do that because that allows things access to me. So what I'm doing instead, I'm calling women together, or men, whoever wants to come, and the workshop is called Visions of the Golden Age, Upholding the Rose. And what I'm calling for is a dive through the Christed heart, the crystal heart. I know that the architecture of the upholding of the golden age, of the upholding of the rose of the womb, of mother's wisdom, is already present within the heart. And this needs to be opened. This is why when we speak, we're moving people's hearts, we're opening, we're moving them to tears, and why it's rejected. And that's okay too. I honor people's deflection, I honor people's distrust of me, and I move a different direction. And everyone is recalibrating. I have the confidence of the big dog on the block, Elizabeth. that's what this is. It's like, okay, that's fine. I won't push. I'll keep going. It will come. I'm working with water. I'm in a channel of the Eternal Mother. I'm not going anywhere. It only gets worse. you know.
That's why I love you so much, and I wanted to reach out to you. You emanate exactly what I believe. I've always been working with women because we are the ones that are going to give birth to the new earth, and
Yeah.
that's the saying, the meek. It's really the gentle-hearted.
Mm.
Will inherit the earth. So my attitude is when I talk to women and they're like, but he won't, and he won't, but they don't,
Yeah.
or I'm not, our let's
Mhm.
say even with what's going on in the awakening community now. Okay, a lot of the men started a lot of the stuff, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They're the starters, and they're
Mhm.
taking it out in 3D now, which is fine. And it's on the Fibonacci spiral, and it will disintegrate. It's on the old timeline.
Mhm.
But the women, we're all and I think we're moving okay. I used to say, "Come
Yeah.
on, women." I don't believe that. We are doing it eternally, eternally,
Mhm. Yeah.
internally. And we're just moving ourselves because we're healers. So we're first cleaning
Mhm.
house, healing ourselves,
Yeah.
getting our womb up to speed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And all of a sudden we're going to be there, not taking
Mhm.
over, but we're magnetic. It's just that we're the
Mhm.
solution. And people are
Yeah.
going to need, when everything crumbles apart, we'll just have
Yeah.
been here always, home and hearth, having the
Yeah.
place prepared. And yeah,
Mhm.
it's always been here. Now you're ready for it.
Yes.
Like mom.
Absolutely. And, today I had to tell myself, Mary, the men might turn around and say it was their idea. And you may have to be okay with that too. And then I thought, well, I suppose once it's done, it doesn't matter how it's done. And that is where the patience of the mother comes in. Once it's done, it doesn't matter how it's done.
No, you don't have to. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up this one, but stay
Okay,
tuned because we're
super.
gonna have another episode. So thank you so much for joining us. And
Thank you.
Mary, could you please give us your website just for those listening?
Sure. I am heartofgold.earth, and my Facebook, Mary Costello, is my most up to date, but I'm heartofgold.earth as well on my website.
Okay, and you spell Costello, Costello, Costello.
Yes, and I have a beautiful YouTube channel now called The Womb Room, Voices of Eternal Beginning. So people come in and they open, and we find the wisdom inside, and we just offer this beautiful womb, this soil, this space of receptivity. So
Okay, great. Okay, so that's how you can get in touch with her and tune in because she will be returning on another episode if you're listening to this on the podcast. Okay, and thank you for tuning in very much. Love you guys so much. Ciao for now.
Thank you for tuning in to today's episode of the Infinite Human Talk Show with your host, Elizabeth Monroy. We hope today's episode has inspired you to join the new consciousness renaissance and be the change by reclaiming your true divine infinite nature within and becoming an infinite human and a co-creator of the new infinite earth. Tune in next week for another empowering episode. Until then, have an infinite week.
All right, good job. We are clear.